Is the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Arizona, held on February 18th, 2014 at 6 p.m. at the Council Chambers building. Deputy Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Pratt.
Here.
Councilmember Dowling.
Here.
Councilmember Linsky.
Here.
Councilmember Howdy.
Here.
Councilmember Garrison.
Present.
Vice Mayor Piper.
Here.
Mayor Jones.
Here. I would like to introduce Patty May, Patricia May, which do you go by? Patty May. She recently retired after many years with the Verde Valley Guidance Clinic, and she is she's a student, I guess you would say, of the Verde Valley Leadership Program. And she's going to shadow me in the next week or two at various activities that I attend. So she's here tonight thinking about how it would be to be the mayor. So if we could all stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance, please. And if we could get the Boy Scouts to come up and lead us, that would be fantastic. Okay, gentlemen, lead the pledge, please. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome. Thank you for coming to our meeting. It's great to have young people come to council meetings, and we appreciate that participation. And please feel free to comment on any item that you would like to comment on. Okay, the next item is a brief summary of current events by mayor, city council, and/or city manager. The public body does not propose, discuss, deliberate, or take legal action on any matter brought up during the summary unless the specific matter is properly noticed for legal action. Mr. Rodriguez.
Mayor and Council, wanted to go ahead and just point out a couple of things. Wanted to mention that our budget season for the City of Cottonwood has begun. Initial memos have gone out, so it's going to get hectic over the next few months. As you know, we usually have our budgetary meetings, usually about 3 or 4 nights in consecutive nights, and they'll be right around the May time frame. We will try to get the tentative budget adopted in by June, and with a final in July sometime. Also wanted to mention that the college reclaim water line work has begun. This particular project is estimated to take approximately 90 days to complete. The college has already issued us the check for the project itself, so that should be moving along relatively smooth. As a reminder, the general plan has their open house this Thursday, the 20th, at 6:30 p.m. at the Recreation Center. 5:30 p.m. Actually, I have it here. We encourage our council to attend, and also our public at the Recreation Center again. That is again the 20th at 5:30 p.m. Also wanted to mention that the A.R.S. pods are in place at the Verde Valley Fairgrounds. These are 4 cameras, 3 of them which are able to pan and 1 that is stationary. They're being experimented with at the Verde Valley Fairgrounds. We plan to use these at Riverfront Park, the Thunder Valley Rally, the Rhythm and Ribs, and other events that the city has, so that the police department can keep an eye on things remotely. That's all I have at this point. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Council members? Mr. Pratt?
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody that there is an event going on in Old Town the beginning of May 2nd. In the evening, there's a Derby Bootleggers Ball. And then on May 3rd, it's the Run for the Roses, and businesses will be decorating sawhorses and having races up and down the street in honor of the Kentucky Derby. It should be fun.
Should be. Other council members? Okay, just running through a quick schedule of things that I've been doing. On February 6th, we had the ribbon cutting with the new motor vehicle services called Footwork at 656 South Main Street, and most of the council members will remember this as the old Pizza Hut. And you can go in there and get motor vehicle services, and in fact, I think they even give tests, the driving tests and that sort of thing. So if it's too busy at our regular motor vehicle and you want to save some time, or otherwise, this is a great business to patronize. Let's see. Oh, I attended the Verde Valley Christian School Spaghetti Supper and Pie Auction and was the lucky bidder on a pecan pie made locally. And my husband called it the $20 a piece pie. I met with Morgan Snyder of the Walton Family Foundation, and we discussed ways last week that Cottonwood can collaborate on Verde River and economic development projects. Steve A.R.S and Casey Rooney and I guess Jody Filardo have all been working with the Verde Front Leadership Group on a strategic promotional program for economic development. And one of the projects discussed over the past year has been the development of a marketing plan for the outdoor recreational opportunities that exist in the Sedona and Verde Valley region. And over the last few months, Chip Norton and Steve A.R.S, and I think with Casey and Jody, have been working on a grant opportunity through the Walton Family Foundation that would include funding needed to develop the marketing plan along with marketing tools. So that's another regional thing that we've been working on. With the Verde Valley Transportation Coordination Committee, I met this past week, and Bruce was there, and Rudy Rodriguez, Bruce Morrow, our CAT manager. And it's talking about various programs through NACOG in transit. And it's just a group to try to come up with some ideas. There's some grants that might be available. And my takeaway from the meeting was that the state, ADOT, expects us all to work regionally. Our work with the Yavapai Apache Nation is a good example of trying to bring communities together. So with the grants and the loans from ADOT, they're going to look at how are you collaborating with your neighbors, how are you working regionally when they look at funding projects in the future. The Verde Valley Teen Center had a Valentine's dance, and I got a report from Marianne Jimenez, who is the president of the group, and her words are, it went great. And she said they had 102 kids at the dance, so they were able to cover the DJ cost, and they made a little bit of money for their coffers. And she said once it got going, the kids really enjoyed it. And she said they were there until 11:30 p.m., so it was a pretty long evening. All the board members were there volunteering along with 3 other volunteers that the Backus family rounded up. And she said that they sold roses and cookies at the event. There's also upcoming, it's the 25th, the Teen Center will be having a pizza fundraiser for the Teen Center. And that will be held in the evening, and it's on a Tuesday night at Vinny's Pizza. And Vinny's Pizza recently moved to the Clemenceau building on 6th Street. So if you can go out and enjoy some pizza, some of that will go back to our teen center. The Water Advisory Committee is meeting Wednesday, that's tomorrow, and it's still reviewing the SciWorms. That's the Central Highlands project that we did with the Bureau of Reclamation, and explaining that process. It will actually be at the PRESCOTT location, Board of Supervisors meeting room. But you can also come to the Board of Supervisors meeting room here in Cottonwood and watch it video conferenced. And Rudy's already mentioned the general plan. The Chamber of Commerce will be having a ribbon cutting on Thursday, February 27th at 5 p.m. for the Susan J. Ream Adult Care Services Center located at the old bowling alley, which is 636 North Main Street. So if the public would like to come and welcome this new business, I think it's something that's very needed in the community and will provide a service that will be very important. So it's going to serve seniors and disabled adults by providing daycare services. And then I wanted to mention the intergovernmental meeting, the Verde Valley Intergovernmental Meeting, which will be hosted by Cottonwood at the Rec Center on Thursday the 27th. Not sure of the time, but you can find that on our website at www.cottonwoodaz.gov. Okay, the next item is call to the public. This portion of the agenda is set aside for the public to address the council regarding an item that is not listed on the agenda for discussion. However, the council cannot engage in discussion regarding any item that is not officially listed on the agenda for discussion or action. Comments are limited to a 5-minute time period. And Patrick, are any of these items you wanted to talk about not on the agenda? Because if they're on the agenda, you need to wait until we discuss that item, but I'm not sure. The nature walk, is that, I think that might be called.
That's on the agenda. Number 1 isn't on the agenda. Is number 2 on the agenda?
Yes, number 2, wait, no, it's not tonight. So these are all, right, it's not tonight. It was last time. So these are all for call to the public. So if you would come up and please share your information.
Hi there, I'm Patrick Scanlon, and Madam Mayor, everybody else, hi. I think you guys, you folks should, this sounds silly, I don't know how to approach it. I think you should pay yourselves more money, and a lot more money, and spend a lot more time hands-on. And I think that at the same time that you vote yourself to get enough money that you can devote the time you need to represent the people in the city, I think that you need to change our bureaucracy back to the point that it was. Maybe it didn't run perfectly and it wasn't as smooth, but I think that the department heads all need to be autonomous. Finance guy, the police chief, the fire chief, everybody needs to be autonomous, answer only to you. You folks represent us, we trust you to do that. As I understand it, and I don't, if I'm saying this in a crass manner, excuse that, but I only got 5 minutes. And it's as if it's a tag you're it, that the city manager now is tasked with taking care of everything. Everyone serves at his pleasure, not at yours, except for him and I think the city clerk, maybe somebody else, maybe I don't know. But that is not the deal people think that they've got. They think that you guys are looking out for them. And you're trusting one person to look out for everybody. And that may work out perfectly in this particular setting. What about the next guy? That's a lot of power to give one person. And so if anything were to ever go south, which I'm not suggesting that it is now, but were it to go south 5 years from now or whenever with a whole different cast of characters, it can go pretty far south before you realize it. And then you got to convene and have a couple of executive sessions, and time keeps going by and keeps going by. And so I think that, I guess you guys get my point. I think you should make more money. I think you should run the government. You should pay somebody to run the government, but you should run them. Everybody should answer to you guys, not to somebody not just to one person who answers you. The second thing that I want to talk about, I'm going to change order, Madam Mayor, if it's all right. I think that the biggest asset that Old Town Cottonwood has, the thing that we need, and I've said this for a long, long time, and I still believe it, is the thing that's going to cost the least to do, and that's the nature trail, the jail trail, river walk, whatever you want to call it. People are just nuts to get someplace that doesn't cost money to take their kids, to take their family, to take the school kids in the charter schools that used to go down there. Maybe they still do. And it's a thing that helps the community. And I always said, and I remember when you initially ran for office, I remember when I was asking you guys permission to have the markets, and Ruben was mayor, and you guys were leaning over the counter saying, yeah. And if we structure what we do so that we make this a place where people like to live, like a nice neighborhood thing, pretty soon people from someplace else who are affected by crowding hysteria and high temperatures and too many bureaucrats and too high taxes and all that, they come and they see this and they think it's cool. And so the streetlights are cool in Old Town, and it adds to the flavor, and everything is pretty groovy. But the thing that makes the biggest difference is the community itself. And though there are success stories about other communities that just went after tourists, it didn't turn out that good for the locals. And so I think that we need to probably spend less money and put more effort, whether it's volunteer effort or the government spends the money. I don't think the government did. When we started the markets and the concerts, we said, give us a shot, let us do it, and if it works out, then maybe you'll want to get involved. It did work out. Look what we're at now. And so I think that theory worked before. I think it's going to work now. That's not to say that you can't spend a lot of money and create a lot of, gin up a bunch of enthusiasm for projects that's going to make or break Old Town or Cottonwood. Old Town's just part of Cottonwood. And so I guess I've made my point about that.
So already the 5 minutes are up. So can we got through 2 items. Can you come back to the next meeting and do the next 2?
If I live that long, I guess I probably can.
But we appreciate your comments. And if you could get back with Mr. Scanlon and update him on where we're at with that trail system, okay, the gateway to Cottonwood, because I know it's being worked on. So if you can come back next time and cover your other 2 items, that would be perfect.
The other 2 things, is it going to be too late for public input by the time I come back? Because you were in executive session about the rec center.
We should have probably started with that one then. But, so if you would, just maybe you can chat with, if you want to stay, chat with people after the meeting and let them know your feelings.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your comments and your input. Okay, the next item is approval of minutes. And what is the council's pleasure? One set of minutes is talking about our retreat. And I definitely would like to give the public an opportunity to comment on our retreat, if they read the item and they came to talk about that at all. So the next steps on that, it seems like we should put this on as an agenda item to discuss. Yeah, we should, rather than just doing the minutes. So
You could certainly do that, Madam Mayor.
yeah, let's go ahead. We'll go ahead and approve the minutes, but this needs to be something the council discusses. Where are we going next with this? So if you'd like to put that. Yeah. Just a discussion of the retreat, the initiatives that we would like to ask staff to help us with. So yeah, we have a lot of work to do on this yet. So just the minutes, though, if they're okay with y'all, that's fine. So any discussion on the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay. Anybody second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Mr. Elinsky made the motion. Mr. Dowling seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so comments regarding items listed on the agenda are limited to a 5-minute time period per speaker. Item 7 is unfinished business. Number 1 is ordinance number 602, amending the municipal code by deleting chapter 2.108, Judicial Review and Appointments Advisory Board of Title II, Administration and Personnel, second and final reading. Mr. Horton.
Madam Mayor and Council, this is in the nature of a housekeeping item, as the council knows. The council now decided to review the magistrate directly, rather than have an advisory body do so first and bring findings and a recommendation retaining the magistrate in office to the council. As a practical matter, that was the sole function that the Judicial Review Board had been performing, and that board required a lot of effort from its members and also a lot of support and resources from the city and the staff. So the council directed some time ago for the board to be disbanded, and this ordinance simply deletes the provisions relating to that board from the city code.
Okay, so we've really discussed this over many meetings, and so any comments from the public on this item? Mr. Pratt, you have your hand up, please.
I'll make a motion.
Good.
I move to approve ordinance number 602.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Pratt made the motion, the Vice Mayor seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Deputy Clerk, please read ordinance number 602 by title only.
Ordinance number 602, an ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Cottonwood, Arizona, amending the municipal code by deleting chapter 2.108, Judicial Review and Appointments Advisory Board of Title II, Administration and Personnel. Madam Mayor.
Okay. Item number 8 is the consent agenda. The following items are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the council. Okay. Mr. Dowling is declaring a conflict here, and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or a citizen so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Item number 1 is acceptance of a temporary construction easement and permanent sidewalk and drainage easements for the 12th Street reconstruction project and approval of an associated reimbursement agreement. Item number 2 is resolution number 2740, approving a delegation agreement with the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality, delegating authority to the Cottonwood Fire Department to issue an open burn permit permits within the city. Item number 3 is renewal of contract with SC Fuels for off-site refueling services for city vehicles. Number 4 is special event liquor license submitted by Nate Jackson, applicant for the Verde Valley Fair Association, for an event scheduled for March 20th, 2014 at the Verde Valley Fairgrounds located at 1100 East Cherry Street. Item number 5 is approval of the final approval of lease purchase financing documents for Emergency Communications Center software and equipment. Are there any items that council would like to pull off for discussion?
No.
Are there any items that a member from the public would like to pull off for discussion? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
If I may.
Please.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Howdegi made the motion. The Vice Mayor seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Deputy Clerk, please read resolution number 2740 by title only.
Resolution number 2740, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, approving an agreement with the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality to delegate authority to the Cottonwood Fire Department to issue open burn permits within the city. Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Item 9 is new business. The following items are for council discussion, consideration, and possible legal action. Approval of branding guidelines. Mr. Rooney.
Madam Mayor, Council, we had during our January 28th planning meeting, if you remember, one of the items was the branding guidelines. So we're working on branding for the city. And we've had several meetings. We've had meetings in front of the City Council, and then a couple meetings, and now we had the last one, the planning meeting with staff and the City Council. And Scott Havas from Havas Design is our consultant, and he came up and made a very professional presentation to you. And at that time, you asked me to formally come in front of the City Council and make the request to approve the brand guidelines. So you should have the brand guidelines in your packet. And I'm asking for your support and your approval of the brand guidelines so we can move forward with the brand. And this is just kind of the guide on how we all agree to put this together, and without the approval of this, we go backwards, or we move forward and approve this, and then the next step are the logo development and the website architecture. So we're going to be working on a new logo, and we're going to be working on the website architecture, and so that's phase 1 of this project. But to move forward, we have to have the approval of the brand guidelines, which was presented to you in detail at that city planning meeting on January 27th. And at that time, I believe everybody was shaking their head. And so I'm asking for approval to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, any questions? Mr. Pratt?
Yeah, I think you did terrific work on this. You got a lot of input. I would love to see this information available on the city website. If we could do that, that would be terrific.
We can do that.
That would be great. Good point. Any other comments on this item that we discussed and learned more about at our retreat? Mr. Pratt?
I move to approve the city's new branding guidelines as proposed.
Okay, thank you.
And do I hear a second? Okay, any comments from the public on this item? If not, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries, and Mr. Pratt made the motion and the Vice Mayor seconded it.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council.
Thank you.
Good work,
Have a
Casey.
safe trip home.
Thank you.
Approving a list of city-owned buildings that qualify for historic landmark status and authorizing staff to begin the landmarking process through the Historic Preservation Commission. Ms. Barron.
Madam Mayor, and members of the Commission, and as you know, recently, Historic Preservation Commission has been awarded with CLG, Certified Local Government, and this is one of the things that Historic Preservation can act on landmarking of the local buildings. And the Commission thinks that the best way to start is with the city buildings, because one of the practice sessions, Commission practice of the landmarking process on Civic Center building. And for any landmarking process, the application has to be signed by the applicant. And in this case, that will be city. And the staff listed city buildings, civic center, old jail, finance building, city hall, council chambers as identified city buildings for your discussion tonight. And also, as I mentioned earlier, that for any application for landmarking process, we need a signature from the applicant. So tonight we are requesting a designee from the city who would sign landmarking application for the city, and also a listing of the buildings that we would like HPC work on, landmarking process.
Okay. So, Mr. Rodriguez?
Mayor, Council, at this moment, we're fine with this particular agenda item, but we would like to have Council consider removing the buildings listing. As you may already know, some of these buildings may change their use in the future, and we have been talking about these buildings possibly changing the nature of them. And we'd like to go ahead and remove those things and approve the rest of this item, and maybe solicit some of the more privately owned buildings that we have in this historic section of Cottonwood as our preliminary buildings to go ahead and use for this particular project.
Comments or questions? Mr. Lindsay?
Just wanted to ask you, are you suggesting that we remove all the buildings from this list?
You've already done the Civic Center, right?
Well, we haven't. We have,
Practice.
as a practice. I think it'd be nice
official.
to move forward on that and get it official. I mean,
So you already have the Civic Center in.
well, what
they practiced on.
Yeah, what the HPC did was we were working on the process, and so we sort of workshopped the Civic Center so that we could get the HPC engaged in the process of filling out the application. So it's done. It's just not official yet.
Okay, and the old jail is already, the work's already been done on that. If we could go ahead, at least keep those two buildings and cut out the other three, that'd work out too.
Excuse me, can I ask a question?
Certainly.
Why are we looking to remove these buildings again?
Because the nature of these buildings may change in the future.
Isn't the old jail now a tea house, so it's already changed?
Mm-hmm.
I don't see the difference here of removing these, and because they may change in the future. They may not change in the future.
And we understand that. The thing is that we have been discussing using those buildings for a different purpose, and we'd like to go ahead and keep them out of keep them out of this particular
Landmarking.
with that
Landmarking process.
landmarking process, and instead just go ahead and maybe if those don't change, then we can always bring them back in the future. But at this point in time, we'd like to go ahead and remove those three from this particular list and just leave the other two remaining ones on the list. That would work out just fine.
So it seems because the council has discussed other uses in the past for those buildings, and that's still pending.
Correct.
And so you don't want to put any restraints on the council to be able to continue those discussions for those buildings.
Certainly, and these discussions are not too far out into the future. We're looking at continuing discussions with these three particular buildings in the next 3 to 4 weeks.
Are these buildings, were they named in that 1980 study as historic buildings?
They were in the survey.
Okay.
But they weren't landmarked.
Okay. And they're mostly, City Hall's 50 years old now, right? Is that what?
City Hall, yes.
Is 50 years, and so some of the others might be close to that age?
I don't think City Hall was named specifically in the last survey, but it would be eligible now to be.
Oh, is it?
I think so, and there's experts in the back of the room that would.
Yeah.
Certainly.
What I don't understand is I understand why you're doing this. I don't understand what it changes. I don't understand what kind of impact that makes on the ability for the city to sell or trade these properties if we landmark them. How does that negate the process, or how does that become a problem for the process of selling them or trading them?
Well, I think what it does, it may pose a hurdle for us to be able to discuss this in the future. Remember that I don't want to start, I want this discussion about these particular buildings should be coming up to council in the next 3 to 4 weeks. And all I'm asking is that we delay this at least till we have that discussion before we actually put them on here and get them landmarked. I don't feel that 3 or 4 weeks for us to go ahead and have that discussion should pose any bit of a problem, since we've already got 2. One of them is already a test subject, I believe. And then if after that discussion we may bring these back and include them in the landmarking.
Well, and another thing too, which may shed light on, is that the landmarking process is owner initiated, and which is why the HPC is interested in trying to get as many city buildings as possible on there, because city owns the property. So I think in those buildings that are of question, you know, whether or not they'll be owner initiated in the future is what we're questioning here. So at this point, I think it's best to wait until council has its discussions on what to do with those buildings. And
right, because the buildings belong to the citizens of Cottonwood, and the citizens will have time to input on what they want the buildings to be used for with the upcoming discussions. So we may be jumping the gun to do it, to add those buildings now, but it doesn't mean that they won't be added in the future.
So should we proceed and just table this whole issue until we get a little more clear as to what's happening?
I thought about that myself.
I think that'd be an excellent motion to make.
if I may, I would just, I would love to see the Civic Center and the old jail be
Go ahead with that.
Be landmarked.
Can work on.
Yeah, it would mean a lot to the HPC. And
I think at this point, we have 2 options. We can go ahead and landmark those 2 items so they can begin the process and not delay their process, the landmarking process, and then have discussion about the other items. They can always be put back on after we have our discussion in the next few weeks.
I like that idea myself, and you know, I mean, there are other buildings too besides these 3 that you can practice on. And I'm thinking of the Cottonwood Hotel, if Karen, the owner, is here, and if she's interested in that. I mean, there's lots of work to do for the commission. You could have your hands pretty full with the ability to...
And that's part of the outreach effort that we all make as commissioners, is to try to encourage other folks to landmark their buildings. These were the easy, this was the low-lying fruit. So
right.
Yep.
So does the council generally agree to go ahead with the 2 buildings, Civic Center and the old jail, and then to put these others, which may certainly be landmarked in the future, but to put them aside now for further discussion? Does that suit you, Mr. Huddy?
I'd be fine with that.
I think we have consensus here. So any comments from the public? And we have 2 experts here, maybe 3.
I have a question.
If you would come up to the lectern, please. Thanks, Mr. Scanlon.
Sure. It's unclear to me why what is the agenda for de-landmarking these buildings? You're wanting the Civic Center to not be a landmark and the jail?
We want them to be. They're the ones that are ready.
To stay as landmarks?
We want the commission to be able to go through the process of landmarking them. Are they already landmarked?
No, they're not. So the Historic Preservation Commission was formed 3 years ago, and one of the things that we would like to do is to landmark key properties within the historic district of Cottonwood. And so these are these are a list of properties that the city owns that the Historic Preservation Commission would like to go ahead and landmark. So it's a new process that we're working the bugs out of, essentially, and we would like to, landmark these properties, which just makes them special properties within the historic district of Cottonwood.
Does it change the ability of the town or anybody else to use those buildings later on?
No, not at this point.
Not at this point?
Well, no.
It does make a difference, because when they made this a historic district, we had about 10,000 bureaucrats in town forever spending citizens' money to prove that we weren't poisoning western meadowlarks and weeds down by the river and things with runoff, and I'm sure that's all legitimate, but people didn't see that going in.
Again, so to landmark a property, it's an owner-initiated process, so if an owner of a building, of a historic building, wanted to landmark it, it's their choice to do so. Now, at this point, it doesn't have any, it doesn't negatively affect the property in any way at all. There's many benefits to landmarking a property.
But aren't there constraints that you have to abide by after you do that?
There currently aren't. I think that as we work through the process, we're going to have some design review criteria that will be applied to landmarked properties. If they want to do changes to the exterior of their building, then they'll have to come before the Historic Preservation Commission to get those changes approved. Again, the key point here is it's owner initiated, so this isn't something that the city is doing.
Except for the buildings that the city owns.
The buildings that the city owns, yes.
Right.
That's correct.
So, you know, we have instructed staff to set up a meeting for the council. It didn't happen tonight, but it will happen in the near future, to visit the Civic Center. And there's been some discussion with staff and citizens about updating and renovating and putting some funds into that building. So will this process affect that process at all?
No, I think if anything, this process would
make it stronger.
Light a fire to help us, you know, recognize the importance of that building and focus our...
Keep the integrity of the building.
Yeah.
Strong.
Yeah. Again, like I said, it's owner initiated. So if you don't want to celebrate the history of your property, you certainly are under no obligation to do that. But it is the Historic Preservation Commission's hope that many people will go through the landmarking process, and the City Council encourage the HPC to do this, and City, you know, is in charge of the citizens' buildings, which is the buildings that we're discussing right here. And I think it's certainly within the scope of the HPC to landmark those properties.
Okay.
Madam Mayor?
Yes,
Just one bit of context and one point of clarification. The context is this is a new process because the city has just only recently become empowered to landmark properties by virtue of becoming a certified local government through a long and many hands process. And in terms of once becoming a landmark, it's a celebratory designation, and there is an opt-out process for any property owner that would choose to remove that designation either affirmatively or through some other action. So there is no punitive consequence attached to being a landmark or what you can or can't do with your property ultimately. It's simply to retain that designation.
Okay. So I think what I'm hearing the council saying, and whoever makes the motion needs to reflect that, is that we're approving the first two buildings, and the other three may be approved later, but they need more discussion.
Sounds like that to me.
So I'd entertain a motion.
I move to authorize the mayor to sign the landmarking applications for the Civic Center and the old jail as presented, and direct staff to start the landmarking process on those buildings through the city's Historic Preservation Commission.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Pratt made the motion, the vice mayor seconded it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item number 3 is, and before I go to item number 3, did either of you wish to share any information? Our experts back there. Okay. Item 3 is letter of support for the Regional Trails Facilities Proposal, which is Grief Hill, Copper Canyon Recreation Areas, to be submitted by the town of Camp Verde to the Prescott National Forest. Ms. Najad.
Madam Mayor, as you are involved in this project, as a staff liaison, Charlie Scully is assigned to this project and deals with Verde Front. And this is his project, and working with this group. And as he informed me that this was done in the past for the city of Cottonwood for the West Mingus Avenue recreation area. Camp Verde supported that time city of Cottonwood, and now town of Camp Verde is submitted a proposal to Prescott National Forest for Grief Hill and Copper Canyon recreation areas, and this is as a multi-agency support group. They are asking for our support letter.
So yes, different trails groups have been working on regionalism for many years. I know that Cocoa Pie RC&D back in 2003, I think, was a group that got all the trails groups together, and the Forest Service really liked that because then they just had to deal with one group. But most recently, in the past 3 or 4 years, we've been working with, as Ms. Najad said, the Verde Front group. And working together on these trails and interconnecting our communities is really the goal. So I totally support the council supporting Camp Verde in this because it will benefit our citizens also. After all, Grief Hill and Camp Verde are not all that far away. It's an easy day to take a little ride and go for a hike when you get there. So, any comments from members of the public on this item? If not, Mr. Dowling?
Let's see. I'll certainly do that. I will move to authorize the mayor to sign the letter of support for the regional trail facilities proposal to be submitted by the town of Camp Verde to the Prescott National Forest. Second.
So Mr. Dowling made the motion. I think Mr. Elinsky was the first to second it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the next item is the SCITECH Festival. This is a request for the council contingency funds to assist the Verde Valley SCITECH Festival Committee with advertising and promotions. And Mr. Rodriguez will present this item.
Yes, Mayor, Council. In September of 2013, the city of Cottonwood and the Yavapai Commons have been spearheading a movement that is actually a statewide movement, but the city of Cottonwood has been spearheading the Verde Valley SCITECH Festival since then. We've brought a number of agencies as well as local schools and other municipalities into the fold to try to make this Verde Valley SCITECH Festival. I wanted to read what the Arizona SCITECH Festival is all about because it is a statewide project. The Arizona SCITECH Festival is a statewide celebration of science, technology, engineering, and math, STEM for short. They're expanding it to STEAM when they include the arts. It's held annually in February and March through a series of over 400 expos, workshops, conversations, exhibitions, and tours held in diverse neighborhoods throughout the state. The Arizona SCITECH Festival excites and informs Arizonans from age 3 to 103 about how STEM will drive our state for the next 100 years. Spearheaded by the Arizona Commerce Authority, Arizona Science Center, the Arizona Technology Council Foundation, Arizona Board of Regents, the University of Arizona, and Arizona State University, and the Arizona SCITECH Festival is a grassroots collaboration of over 450 organizations in industry, academia, arts, civic, community, and K through 12. The city of Cottonwood is very, very involved in this program. It is a program that will be happening here throughout the Verde Valley from March 22nd through the 29th. Cottonwood has a number of agencies involved. We have our Cottonwood Fire Department will be involved on the 24th, as well as our police department on 24th. The 25th of March will be dedicated to our airport, our wastewater facilities, our local IT, and also our public works department. In collaboration with them, we'll also have Emery Riddle will be at our airport showing off both their aeronautical and their robotics programs. As you can see, we have a laundry list of people, of agencies that will be involved. Mingus Union High School will also be involved, the Valley Academy of Career Technology Education, Yavapai College, Beaver Creek School, Arizona State Parks, Town of Camp Verde, University of Arizona College of Agriculture and Life Sciences Range Program, Verde Valley Medical Center, Verde Valley Verde River Valley Nature Organization, Unisource will also be involved, Cottonwood Oak Creek School District, the Town of Clarkdale, Mountain View Preparatory, Arizona Public Service will be joining our utilities as well as Unisource, integrated systems, on, and this is only a very small portion of the amount of agencies and local businesses that will be involved in this particular venture. As we've been meeting over the last few months, we've found that we have no budget, and we've been, in a sense, kind of groveling for agencies to try to assist us with some of this. The Arizona SCITECH Festival has been very gracious in providing us with banners, and you can see them throughout. And if you look at our Facebook, you will see ever so often we will change the banners throughout that we have photos for throughout the different municipalities and agencies and school districts that we're working with. And we'd like to go ahead and try to build it up even further. This is something that's probably going to be grown over the next few years. But for right now, we'd like to ask the council to graciously allow us to use up to $2,000. Not that we will use it, but we'd like to be able to have the flexibility in order to be able to provide prizes as well as improve our marketing for the program over the next few months. I did want to point out a young man, I should have invited him, Lucas Hamilton from Mingus Union High School, has been spending a lot of time trying to develop a website for this particular program, and over the years I'm sure we're going to develop it even further. It's up on the web already, and it is www.vvscitech.org. He's got a calendar up there, he's got a listing of sponsors, and it's still a work in progress, but if you want to see the sponsors that are up there, the amount of work that he's put together, I think it would be ideal. At some point in the near future, I'd like to bring him here to have him meet our council. But in the meantime, getting back to the subject here, I'd like to see if council would allow us to spend up to $2,000 of their contingency money for the SCITECH Festival in promotion and possibly prizes to encourage our youth to visit the different exhibitions throughout the Verde Valley.
Mr. Pratt.
Yeah, I just want to say this is a really important program. It's not just a statewide program, it's a national program. And the impetus really was the fact that over the last few years, our students' scores in this country in these areas have dropped compared to other countries. And we're having fewer and fewer people who are really eligible to fill some of these technological jobs that are really important and are amongst the highest paying jobs. So yeah, the impetus is that we have fallen back behind in science, math, and technology to a lot of other countries, and I think this is just a really proactive way to address that issue, and so I support this 100%.
Thank you, and we truly appreciate what Yavapai College has done. They're going to hold their own expo where some different cities and towns, and then the students from Cottonwood Oak Creek School District will participate. They'll have some of their science projects. We also have a little plan, a passport, where if they attend enough of these events, they'll be able to get prizes. And the Yavapai College Foundation has already donated an iPad mini to it, and so we're thinking, and the Friends of the Verde River Greenway are going to talk to the Waltons about donating another iPad. But the really remarkable thing about this whole effort is the regionalism and people just jumping in together. And, Rudy has been really awesome. I mean, he's just been there. He was acting city manager at the first meeting and told Doug that he'd like to continue with this project, and he's just been amazing. He's taken on a lot of responsibilities sometimes, and I think that he's just really enjoyed it. And for the council, this is, like Councilmember Pratt said, it's about jobs. It's about ensuring that our children have the education they need, so when jobs become available that take these kinds of talents, that we'll be able to draw from our own pool of our own students and our own folks. Otherwise, these jobs will be filled, but they won't be filled by people that live in the United States. So it is very, very important, and I would just really like to thank Rudy and all of our staff who have really jumped in this. And it's not just about the children, it focuses on the children, but if the adults in the community don't support this, then the children may not be as interested. So it's getting the families, you know, to realize how important this is and support their children, getting city council members, getting members of the public to support our children in these endeavors. So I think that the $2,000, if we spend that much, will be very well spent and be very representative of things that the council wants to do in education for not only the children but the whole community.
Time for a motion, Madam Mayor.
Anybody from the public want to comment? Mr. Hadigi?
I move to approve $2,000 from the City Council's contingency fund to be used to assist the Verde Valley SCITECH Festival Committee with advertising and promotions.
Second.
Mr. Hadigi made the motion. Mr. Pratt seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you for all that you've done, making it a success. Okay, so the next item is the claims and adjustments.
I move we pay the claims.
And would you like to second it?
I'll second it.
Okay, so Mr. Dowling made the motion, the Vice Mayor seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I move to adjourn.
Second.
The Mayor made the motion, Mr. Pratt seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.